No, I know. And it's like, well, what's too short? What's too long? Does it seem like, am I being too braggy? Am I being too humble? You know, and it's like, well, my bio is like 5,000 words. Is it better if it's just 1,000?
I almost want to be like, can I give you a bio that day? Here's Kelly. She slept for 4 hours. She's got lots of coffee in her. She's probably going to make you laugh. You're not going to agree with everything she says. And here she is.
You're hereby forewarned. Yeah. Yeah. And then when people say, well, introduce yourself, I'm like, oh, shoot, I probably should have practiced that. Yeah.
It still varies by the day. Like some days I'm like, you know, I'm America's mother. She's very important.
Yes.
I travel. Yes. I do things with insurance agencies.
Exactly.
I pretend to like working out, and that's that. I like coffee. I drink coffee, water, red wine, and vodka. There's 4 beverages that ever get ingested by me. And then
that's why we get along so well. I'm not going to lie.
For those of you out there who are like, who is this Linda Rey lady? And why is Kelly talking to her today? What's your jam today?
So what's my jam today? So, well, you know, insurance has been like, feels like forever. I'm still a licensed broker in the state of Connecticut, but I tried to get out of the insurance business 3 times. I failed twice. And then I officially exited as an agency owner in 2017. I can't believe it's been 5 years. That's like,
it is wild to think that, actually. It's like, I only think of things pre-COVID and post-COVID, and I know that was definitely pre-COVID.
It's definitely pre-COVID, but it doesn't even feel like 5 years at all. And so what happened was, so I kind of retired from insurance sales and owning the agency, and I went on to endeavor to assist insurance agencies with marketing plans and had a few clients. And then Trevor, my partner in life and love, my non-husband live-in lover, he retired from mortgage banking in 2018. And I was like, all right, well, so now what are we going to do? You know? And he said, well, he had as a lender at a boutique bank. We decided between underwriting insurance and he was underwriting loans, let's start a business financing brokerage, because we found that small business owners were having a very difficult time getting the money out of the bank. And so it's like, okay, they didn't know how to apply for a loan, or something would go awry because of the bankers or the who's looking at their financing. So, or the financials. So we started a brokerage, and we were up and running. We had about $3.5 million of loans in the pipeline, which was because it's all commission, which insurance people are very familiar with. So that was not the scary part at all. But then COVID hit, and the banks pivoted to the PPP loans. And so they were like, sorry, can't help you. And that was about $150,000 in commissions that we lost completely. And so we were like, okay, so now what? The serial entrepreneur is continuously pivoting and thinking reinventing and the change, the realistic prospect of change is, you just have to embrace it, right? So Trevor was like, all right, well, we had one client who was actually in California who had signed up for us to get a loan to buy another location for his restaurant. And he was like, hey, a friend of mine told me about this SBA EIDL loan. And we were like, okay, you know. So he was like, do it for me. I'll pay you for it. And we were like, okay. So of course we didn't know anything about it. And Trevor learned about it because he understands financing. And lo and behold, we said, well, let's just tell people online. We'll, change our YouTube channel and let people know about how to apply for a business loan, and specifically the EIDL loan. And thus opened up the floodgates. 25 months later, our YouTube channel blew up, and we had about 500 clients. And we've gotten about $70 million of disaster financing for small businesses in the United States. And it was a pretty good feeling, but the SBA is a finicky mistress. And to partner with the SBA on a full-time basis was absolutely not in the cards for us. It was just not part of the business plan at all. So here we are. We're reinventing ourselves again. And Trevor's going to do music and write. He's got books and songs that haven't seen the light of day, and I'm going to help him get those out to the world. And we'll see how it goes. We have no expectations other than him living a dream of doing that and me continuing with marketing in some capacity.
That's
Whether
awesome.
it's BS TikToks or whatever. Like,
You
I don't
guys
care.
follow her on TikTok. She does some good. I follow
just wanna have fun.
you in like the Johnny Depp trial on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
I'm obsessed with the Johnny Depp trial, and I don't know why, because it's not really in my character to be obsessed with Johnny
Yeah.
Depp. But I was on an airplane and like I was watching the news, and then, you know, I just was working. It was kind of like in my earbuds in the background, and then it flipped over to the Johnny Depp trial, and I didn't even really realize like what was going on. I was just doing my thing, and I was like, oh,
It's kind of crazy.
I didn't want that plane ride, and I was flying like all the way to the West Coast. I was like, do we have to leave? Is this on every day? Is there a way to like, I kind of want to take a vacation week and like watch it on like 1.5 speed for the 6 weeks and be like,
Oh, yeah, that's my new thing. The playback speed is so key. And Trevor, unbeknownst to me, I was like, oh, okay, it's happening because I saw it in my Twitter feed under trending.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, a famous person is getting divorced, whatever. And then Trevor and I don't know, we're talking and he said, oh yeah, I've been watching the Johnny Depp trial. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? And then he would show me, I was like, oh, I get it now.
It's like watching a movie just with two really abusive drug addicts. Like,
well, you know, the thing is,
drug addicts.
if you've ever been in a very toxic relationship, you are sort of like, okay, got out of that unscathed.
Yeah. Ooh. I only went back twice.
Yeah. So crazy.
So
Anyway,
you're like you love the small business side of things, got a big insurance background, obviously. And so we wanted to use this time to talk because you and I have strong matching opinions on marketing. And full transparency, Linda's been helping us with our marketing too. We got some cool stuff in the hopper, but I'm not going to do a spoiler here, guys.
No, because when you say I've been working with you, but no one really knows. They're not seeing anything that we've been doing together. Yeah.
The laboratory.
Yeah.
But you know, and you and I have talked a lot. You know, insurance and marketing don't always like. There's a lot of myths,
disconnect,
perceptions. And I was thinking about it this morning, getting ready for this meeting here today. It's like the old school way of marketing your agency was you bought a yellow page ad and the phone rang, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was probably a lot of small businesses. I don't just say insurance.
I remember that. So I'm dating myself. I look really good for 85. I just want to say. If you're not watching this on video.
Some people are like, can you tell me about these yellow page ads that they show? It's where you ordered your pizza when you were growing up, kids.
Yeah.
You had to grab the yellow page ad for the Domino's delivery. And so it's like, you know, it used to be you bought something and you could pretty much track, like I bought an ad and I got X off this ad because I put a funny phone number on it and I knew how many phone rings and I had producers and they were doing their thing. And then kind of the game changed with social media and websites and the need to kind of hit people so many times. So like maybe to start the conversation, what kind of common myths do you see that insurance agents have about marketing so that maybe we can try to open their mind a little bit of, hey, because I know a lot of agencies are frustrated with marketing, what to spend, how to spend it. And I'll even couple that with, I would say to you guys, like there's the marketing piece, but then your team has to be able to convert that lead. So your ROI is not dependent on actual marketing a lot of times. It's dependent on conversion in your process too. But for top of the funnel awareness, what do you think some common myths are? Let's be Mythbusters today.
Mythbusters. All right. So I think the biggest Mythbuster that I experienced when I was in it and when I was actually an agency owner and then when I was working for other people, the biggest myth is that there's no overnight success. It's not you put a Facebook post and you're going to get 1,000 likes and 2,000 new subscribers and 50 new clients. It doesn't work that way. It's even like in the old world of advertising, and I say old world because it's like the phone book, right? It was the billboards and the yellow pages and the newspaper ads and the magazine ads. They had some, I don't know who made it up. I don't know anything behind the statistics and the science behind the 7 times people have to see your ad kind of thing. But now we have the 8-second attention span. So it's not necessarily 7 times. And it doesn't matter because there are so many opportunities of where to have the brand awareness strategies executed. And that's the beautiful part. And that's where, for me, things opened up after 2009. So pre-2009, I was on like 5 boards of directors. I was going to breakfast, lunch, and dinner 5 days a week, IRL networking type stuff. And then, you had the ads with the special phone number so you knew where they were coming in. But then social media was like, wait a minute. At any time, I can present my business, even if it's 6 a.m. in my pajamas, drinking coffee, and nobody has to see me, and I can be my witty self without anyone seeing my face.
Or my pajama bottoms.
And my pajama bottoms. And I just thought that was genius. I was like, everybody should be doing this. And the thing is, I guess the myth, it's not such a myth. It's not a myth, but it's a realistic understanding of, okay, so the currency is time. Because you can, there's still such a thing as organic, even though people are the paid ad and Facebook doing what it was doing and changing the algorithm 37 times, et cetera. I could go into all of that, but there is still a way to be organic with brand awareness. And that's really what it is. You want people to just know what you're doing. And the thing is, the other myth, and I don't even know if these are myths, but these are things that I hear people actually say out loud. That, besides it doesn't work, or that after 3 months it's not working, it's time. You have to, that's the precious currency of how you need to organize yourself to present, like what's your time management about it? And are you going to delegate it? And do you know how to do it by way of being creative with it? And if you don't, there are resources out there. That's the other thing. You don't have to do everything yourself. So that's, I don't know. Did I get off track there? Because
no, I think
I'm in my 50s.
You dropped some truth bombs, right? Like, I feel like the insurance agencies use the word leads and marketing interchangeably, and I use them very differently.
Oh, they're totally different.
Different. Marketing, you can market to your current customers to keep them. Marketing is your brand awareness. Marketing is your conversion strategy. Marketing is telling your story. Leads, and you can go buy leads from lead providers, and a lot of agencies hate that. Oh, there's no ROI in those. Well, a lot of it has to do with your sales process, and or
they called somebody who died 3 years ago. That's a real thing. It happens.
By the way, and just like you'll get a bad referral, just like you'll get a bad person who Googled you, I think insurance agencies get really picky. And so it's like, I only want the person who pays, who has 7 vehicles, who, is a good fit for the top market that I love, and that wants to pay in full and has no claims and never wants to speak to me.
Right. I mean, there's the persona, developing a persona of your target market, and really realistically, you can have more than one persona. You can have 3,
you have 5 or 6 even, depending on what departments you have.
And that just kind of gives you an idea of not to do let's throw it against the wall and see what sticks. It gives you a little bit of a hyper focus on the kind of person. So you have boundaries. And so you're not saying yes to everything and then wasting your time and kicking tires because they're shopping you, but in 1999, when I moved back home and started working at the family agency, I was like, hey, I don't want to be the best kept secret. And that's part of the marketing approach where that's why social media is so great. You can indirectly and very quickly, in a short number of characters and posts and comments and so on, share with people what you do. Because the thing is, for me, is, and you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. so that's a natural, like, get rid of them because they're never going to be your client. So it sort of diminishes the level of how much time you have to spend on marketing to who's never going to buy to you. But the other thing is that, see, now I lost my train of thought because this is what happens. All right. So hold on. So it's lost. It'll come back.
Well, let's go back to something you said.
Yeah.
Channel your inner brilliance.
My non-menopause brilliance.
So, you said that personas, and I'm a big believer in these, and I'm a big believer for insurance agencies because your personas will help you craft your messaging. So like, I like to say, like, okay, so you want to write contractors. Okay, so what are the pain points contractors have with insurance agencies? Certificate turnaround time. You know, sometimes they have cash flow issues, or workers' comp is really astronomical and they don't understand it because they know how to go build cabinets. They don't necessarily think about getting certificates from subs and everything else. And so if you can craft the message of, we write contractors, here's what you can get. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And solving these pain points you have with insurance, that's big. If you want to write growing families, maybe you need a scholarship at the high school. Maybe you need interns because these are people you want to write. So be in their communities. Maybe you need to sponsor the high school football team. Like, when you know what you want to write, you craft your marketing to be in those communities and top of mind and solving the problems they have, like a growing family, which are the number of things you're going to have. I've got to put the 16-year-old on my policy. Am I going to have to refinance my house? You know? And so we speak generally, I think.
Well, the thing with that, and it's all true, and pain points is everyone talks about that from a sales perspective. The issue is that I feel, and this is not against any insurance agencies or owners or anything like that. I think it's all businesses. Okay. It takes time and discipline to plan that, because you take for granted your knowledge. You take for granted how much you've learned over a span of how many years to understand how to then put that all out into the world in a way that is a marketing plan or a strategy or whatever you want to call it. People they don't take the time to plan it out. And that's the other myth. Here's another myth, is that not everything has to be so strictly planned out. There are some stream of consciousness and real-time nuggets that you can grasp onto. Maybe you need a notepad and you write it down, or you audio text it into your phone, or you do a quick video to remind yourself of an idea that you got that could be a problem that you solve, or something that gets someone excited about buying insurance. Is that actually an oxymoron? Do people get excited about? I don't think so. But anyway, there's the pain and pleasure. That's the science behind the buying,
excited,
right?
I don't say you're excited is not right, but it's like they want to protect their family or they want to protect their business.
Right. So
they
the
want to be there on the worst day of their life, right?
Right. So the motivation. And I think people miss out on the two-pronged approach where you plan out, and I like, one nugget is taking the time to draft the like an FAQ of your client's concerns, or why people are ditching another insurance broker or agent to come to you. Like, that's like a library of genius that you can have, that then you can make posts about it. You can make 1-minute videos about it. That's the other thing. You can do a 35-second video, and you just maybe have solved somebody's problem because they didn't know they could switch their insurance. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to call that person because they're directly speaking to me, you know? And so there's so many different ways to develop content. And I think insurance agencies, now I did get discouraged a bit, like in 2019, and I was talking to you and you're like, no, Linda, there is a population out there of people who are progressive and want to learn. And I'm like, where are they? Like, seriously, where are they? Because I have seen some complacency that has really disappointed me in this field, in this industry.
Yeah.
So
I think the hard part about it's the expectations, right? And so I think it's so interesting because the majority of insurance agencies have this expectation of marketing that they like the floodgates are going to open. And you and I have talked about it. Some of the stuff you're working on with us too. It's like, I'm very open of like, we have to figure out how to track this, but it's not going to be leads. And the reason it's not going to be leads is because we have this database of 14,000 people we've been nurturing. This email could have triggered the call-in, but it's the initial event that I got their email address. It's the nurturing for 7 years. It's the blog post that struck their thing. It's the person they bumped into an event that said, oh, they're awesome. It's 5 or 6 things. You need to track all of them to see like, hey, are we going in this direction on our activity? Not what's the lead gen?
Well, it's, impressions, and going back to maybe one of the things that might have gone off track because that happens when you're in your mid 50s, but impressions. So the whole 7 thing, this is seeing an ad 7 times. Now with social media, it's about impressions. When I go on my YouTube channel, I could have a video that has tens of thousands of impressions, but then there's only like 2,000 views.
Right.
And it's like, maybe it's not 10,000, maybe it's not tens of thousands of impressions, but it's thousands of impressions. And then there's only, a few hundred to a couple thousand views, depending on the video, depending on the performance of the video. And I'm just like, okay. And then, then break it down, the views, and then there's only a tiny fraction of likes. Let's just talk in social media terms, right? So impressions, views, likes, comments,
shares.
Oh, shares is like, besides there's shares and then the calls you get, right? So impressions, what did I say? Views, likes,
shares,
comments, shares, calls, and that's the whole ROI that insurance agency owners look at, small business owners. Sometimes I just don't think there's the patience and the persistence and the endurance is probably a better word of sticking it out there. Like, okay, I mean, just like I think there's a stat out there too, like startups, 3 to 5 years before your phone's ringing without you politely nudging or stalking somebody. It's the same with marketing. To build an audience, it takes years, or it could take a couple of years, and to the satisfaction of whatever you think you should be making a year for money.
A lot of work. Like, I listen to a lot of influencers, just business influencers, and a lot of people want to jump the rails. I call it I want to be like, hold up. I've been getting my butt around the country, speaking, like putting videos out, doing all this to be able to get to where we are today, which is a big blessing of having a lot of reputation and things like that. And I always tell people, we want to be the first person you think of when you have the problem. You may not have a problem today, or you might not be ready to deal with your problem today.
Right.
Or, you're having a baby, or you're going on vacation, or you're just like, I know I have this problem, but we all love to live in denial until the problem likes to smack us across the face. And I'll just share ours is very interesting. I don't have the metric, which is something we'll probably work on, but if I meet somebody, like I was in Wisconsin speaking 2 weeks ago, the 40 business cards I got there, we got a couple store sales and stuff immediately. Okay, great. A couple people said, oh, we want to talk to you. Great. It's a small percentage, but over the next 2 years, there'll be a bigger percentage of people who are like, hey, I saw you speak a few years ago in Wisconsin. I've been following you.
Yep.
And from that meeting to a contract is about 2 weeks, right? Yeah. So I don't have to do a big dog and pony show. They know, trust. We have social proof. So our sales process isn't this long, arduous scenario. And so I want to encourage insurance agencies to think, especially if you're in commercial, you may have this long prospecting process and quote 2-3 years and everything else. You may also missing an ROI component of shrinking your actual sales process down.
Yes. So shrinking your actual sales process. But see, that's just, to me, I feel like that could set up someone especially for someone who may not have the patience for the long tail of the marketing game and the brand awareness game. You have to. So, okay. I just watched this series on Netflix called The Lincoln Lawyer, Michael Connelly's books. It was a movie with what's his name? Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
The character Lorna, who is Mickey's second ex-wife. I won't spoil the whole thing on how. Anyway, he is going to meet a judge. And she's like, this is really great. You might get a case. Work begets work. And I was like, that's really cool. And it's true. And so to your point about the shrinking of the sales funnel, the thing is, the more you do, the more activity begets activity.
Right.
So the more that you try to think outside the box, get uncomfortable with something you may not be familiar with, it's like a habit building thing. And habits, I know habits, like, it should be a 4-letter word, but it can be where it begins a momentum of something different that you're doing that will have results, period, full stop.
And I want to encourage agents, like, just think about how if you think about, everybody is in a sales cycle right now, right? With some companies,
yeah.
You're getting sold, whether it's yoga pants or where you're going to eat tonight, or, you're thinking about buying a new car. You are in sales funnels in your life because you buy things every day, right?
Right.
Like, whether I'm choosing which Airbnb to go to, or hotel, or vacation, or anything you purchase, you're in sales funnels all day long.
Right.
Think about how you buy things.
Well, yep. There's that, and the opposite of how you might buy things. Because,
very true.
I mean, that's the whole DISC formula.
What
right?
DISC do you know? What's your DISC?
I think I'm a dominant influencer. So dominant, what is it? Dominant influencer, compliant, and social. Maybe
you're doing the EN is no.
No, that's ENTJ.
I'm a driver.
Or something.
Like with the pie chart, I'm primary driver.
Maybe that's another one. Another one.
Well, we do one. We have a whole personality profile. It's got like 7 of them. Enneagram. It's got like 7 of them built in. So
yeah.
I can socially profile you.
There's so many of them, but I think I'm a DI or a DS. I can't remember. But I think the other thing too, the myth. This could be a myth. I think a fundamental inherent, what's the word? Hesitation maybe for insurance agencies, the renewals every month.
Complacent.
You get paid every month. It's like, why bother when I'm getting money anyway?
Well, and this is where, we stretch people to dream, right? Like, I'll be fully honest and open with our community that's listening right now. We're growing at over 18%, and that was my vision. Wow. There's some stress fractures on me, but that's okay. I know where we'll be when I turn 45. That's all that matters. All that matters. I get to 45 and things will be more, but you see, here's the thing. Growth is messy, right? Like, so some people want to grow incrementally and like the little train that could. That's not my personality type as a driver and everything else. I'm like, that's boring. And like, let's just throw rocket fuel in the tank and like, let's whoosh. And that takes a lot of patience to some degree, like active patience. It takes you being able to be messy and be okay with it and duct tape a few things here and there and bob and weave and say we're growing and growth is good. And I'd rather have growing problems than the other problems to have. But for a lot of agencies that are smaller out there, your problems have to do with you being smaller. Like our problems have to do with us being smaller.
Right.
So
well,
you can grow in a few years, your problems change and marketing helps.
The perfectionism, I think, is what keeps people from thinking that if they don't know everything or it's not perfect or then there's no point. And it doesn't matter if you don't know anything or everything, or you don't know how to do something perfectly. You learn from doing. If you don't do it, you can't learn it. So why are you, I don't understand that. I really, even when I was doing video, like when I look at my 2019 videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was really good then. I thought it was.
Well, and you think the algorithm changed and the features changed? Like now there's chapters and video, like there's things.
Yeah. And also your craving to elevate it's a natural progression of how things are going to unfold for you, because you're like, okay, so I did that and I want to do it better. It's like doing a video. If you're going to do a talking head video, you're like, okay, I'm going to do a talking head video, but then you do a couple dozen of them and you're like, and you see other videos and you politely stalk other videos and you're like, I'm going to add B-roll, because then I'm just going to change it up a little bit. So that's why when I look back, I see, oh gosh, I didn't even have any sound effects with that. I didn't have any B-roll with that. And then you just get excited about all the possibilities and potential. Anyway, I really think insurance agents have so much potential, even in the driest subject. It doesn't matter. There's still so much potential.
Well, and a lot of times for the local independent agency, you're not facing fierce marketing competition in your community, right? So like in some places, like the restaurants are at each other's throats, like to get butts in the seats, because it's like, who wants Italian? Who wants this? Who wants that? And in insurance, a lot of times, if you start this, you're ahead of your competition and you can really make traction a ton faster. I do want to
especially if you have a niche, You
have a niche, and if you can speak to that niche, and you have to educate your team on the niche. Do not go pick a niche and don't tell your team. Like we listened to a recorded phone call a couple of years ago, and they were trying to do nonprofits, and a teen youth center called in and said, I read your blog. I'd like you to look at our insurance. And the woman goes, I don't know if we write those. It's got to be internal communication too. But one thing that I stress to people, and I have my actual college degree is relationship marketing. Okay. I was one of the first graduating.
I know that about you.
Well, my degree is like a paperweight. So when I was graduating, let's go back in the time machine. It's like, there was no textbook for this. It was like, I guess it was like, I had a marketing degree, but it was like a focus on this. The like CVS loyalty cards just came out, like the stuff, like the grocery, like now that you were tracking your buying. And so I have a whole degree of like how you can track buyer behavior and serve up 17 layers of coupons like CVS, to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, but when I look at marketing, where I get frustrated, I think with all small business owners is like, well, I have a marketing person. I'm like, well, just like you have an insurance agent, they don't do Medicare, group benefits, life, personal lines, commercial lines. Like you have a marketing person and they need to be knowledgeable enough about everything, but they're probably not a video editor, email experts, SEO expert. Like they need to be knowing about it, but the details of all of that, that's whole people's individual incomes in all of those little buckets, right? Like that is a hard thing to think you have one person that can be everything.
Well, marketing is a team sport when it comes to small business, depending on how many employees you have.
Mm-hmm.
As an owner, the fact that I embraced marketing, like that's all I wanted to do, actually, is if I didn't have to underwrite another insurance policy, I was so happy about that. But when the owner has a vested interest in the marketing plan and the strategies or whatever, that's awesome, because that's kind of they're kind of the, maybe not the quarterback, but they're the coach, right? And then if you have a marketing person, then they're the quarterback. But it's a team all the way around. Customer service is the other thing. I think you and I agree on this 1,000%. First of all, sales, people hate thinking about sales, so you kind of have to dress it up. The pig in the prom dress, house sales. I don't know what Trevor is doing. He knew I was doing this, and now he's like making a lot of noise in the background. I don't know if
you ever want to say hi. Is he trying to get like?
I know he's trying to like get on the show, but I think everyone, they don't have to be the sleazy salesperson, but they have to have some skills and training and development to understand when they're talking to a client, customer, or prospect that this is the moment to shine, for the whole agency, and you get to be that person that changes everything depending on what the scenario is. Is it a new person who's calling in and you're converting them to a customer, and that person who picks up the phone makes the first impression, and then on down the line of who all has the touch points to make it an experience. Mm-hmm. Because the whole thing, it's not, you don't have to look at it as a sales process, it's that whole new, their customer journey and the experience, but that's really what it is. Why do you go out to eat? Because you don't want to cook at home. Maybe you like to sit at the bar.
They make better drinks than I do at home.
And they make, right. You don't want to cook. You don't want to clean. You want to have,
you want to spend time with people too. Like,
right. It's a social experience. The food, you're with the food. The food is its own character, and so that's the way an insurance agency should run in all aspects, all departments, all personnel. It's a team sport. Anyway, that's how I feel.
No, I agree, because I think sometimes you can see this great happy marketing campaign and then the person answers phone, insurance.
Yeah, right.
Like, whoa, brand promise let down.
Yeah.
Brand promise fail.
I knew an insurance agency owner who, we were having a little chat and we were talking about, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember saying to him, I said, well, are you running reports on the marketing, networking you're doing? And when the calls come in, what they're buying and all the, do we have reports? And he was like, oh, we're too small for that. I'm sorry, what? What? No, you didn't just say that to me.
Well, and I think I want to talk a little bit about marketing budget, because this is a frustrating point for me inside of insurance agencies. Like, I know what we spend on marketing, and some days, trust me, like a little vomit comes up into my mouth.
Yeah.
But it's working. But like when it's like I never want to know what I've spent on gas, liquor, and or wine or beer in my life. I don't, like, as of my dying day, I don't want to look at that total and be like,
it's a little distressing, right?
And I'm going to add DoorDash to that now. Right.
Well, it is an expense if you're traveling. So,
I know, but it's like one of those things. Like, I hated that much.
Yeah,
I could have had a resort in Monaco.
But you grew by 18%.
Yeah, no, I get it. But you see dollar amounts sometimes on things, and it's just like one of those, like, okay, it's an investment, but when you look at small businesses and you take outside of this insurance thing, because we all think we're like special little unique critters inside of insurance, and growing businesses allocate 10% of their budget to marketing. And in insurance, it's like 1%. And I'm like, and you categorize like business cards and your website, like maintenance expense in there. And I'm like, that's not, like you're not getting what you need to grow.
Well, can I comment to that? Mm-hmm. I think that is a direct correlation to the whole, like, you have the renewals coming in and you're protecting the renewals because that's money. That's the money that's coming in, where you don't really, I mean, we won't get into the retention strategies of keeping the clients, because there's also the attrition that happens. So that's a natural percentage too. So, looking at the natural percentage of attrition every year, people die, move, marry, downsize, whatever. So you already know the attrition is a percentage.
Right.
And how much you're getting in renewals. Why are you not actually looking at getting more business? New business development should be total top to me. It's, you should always be executing some new business development strategies because of the attrition. And so that you're not freaking out about how much you're going to pay in marketing, knowing that you're going to build brand awareness. You're going to, it's going to bring in more business so that you're not stressing about it and being penny wise and pound foolish and cost conscious versus value oriented of what your services are and what you provide to the public, the general public and your clients. You're basically saying, if you don't want to spend any money on your marketing, I'm not really worth talking about. So don't look over here. Thank you very much.
Well, I think you're right. You said the perfectionism gene, right? Like, so when you're running a small business, like there's this quote that's like, if you're running a small growing business, you leave every day and there's fires burning, right? Like, It's not going to be, okay, once all of it's calm, I'm going to grow. Like, that will never be the case. Someone will call out sick. Someone will quit. Carrier will put out your state. Something will happen. Like, you're running an obstacle course, but with every change, there's opportunity. And this goes into, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, if COPE's your strategy, you'll grow a couple percentage points if you're just by rate increase and just referrals. And if you want to do that, that is totally cool. And you should totally own that and say, I'm going to just run this business, but it's not going to be anything insane. And some years I might stay flat. Some years I might go back. And some years I might grow a little. There's a big difference between growing a little and growing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't do marketing because they hear their staff. They can't keep up with the current customers. Like, why are we going to add more into the pipeline? And my advice is, if you want to grow and that's your vision, you cause good problems to solve. Okay. Like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Are there so many leads that we need to hire a producer? Or are we going to wait till everything's perfect and grow a little bit? And then if we find the right person, then we'll invest. It's like, so much is left on hope.
Yeah. It's there's nothing anyone can say. You have to feel the inspiration and motivation of the potential and possibilities. No one's going to convince someone, like whoever this persona is we're talking about, because they're out there, right? They're not even listening to this podcast. Okay, they're not, because they don't need to.
Very angrily driving right now. That's me.
Because, they have to feel it for themselves. And everyone has a rock bottom of something in their life that they'll become really uncomfortable about, that they need to change to feel better. Right. So, and that's just going to be up to whenever that time comes, and whatever that scenario is for that person, they're going to have to live through it. And they're going to learn some hard lessons. A perfect example is we spoke to, over the last 25 months, we spoke to thousands of small business owners on YouTube, comments, emails, texts, calls, free calls, clients, thousands, countless. And the mistakes that small business owners make is, it's the human condition to have to learn before you know how to do stuff, right? So I'm not saying that all these business owners should have known better, because business owners they don't get trained to know how to apply for a business loan and a DIY loan. This is a DIY sitch, right? But the most common problem was the CPAs and how taxes were filed. And you can't maximize your tax liability and qualify for a big fat loan at the same time. It doesn't happen. It doesn't, unless you make a ton of money.
Right.
And then, that's a different space. But, you have to learn, and they were tough lessons. And there were people who be like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do now? I'm like, you wrote off you deducted everything. You have a negative net income of $300,000.
Nobody's going to give you a loan.
No one's giving you the loan. You can't pay it back.
Right. Technically, you cannot pay it. Yeah.
So my point is, with insurance agency owners and marketing, if you're shrinking and you don't know why, you're going to have to start employing new strategies that you maybe.
Well, my thing for those agencies that want to go along, like, something will happen. You'll lose a producer. Like
Yeah.
an agency will get bought in town to a bigger group that's going to come after you. Like, that's why I get uncomfortable with incremental growth. And I think one of my really good friends, she's in her early 60s and she owns a law firm, and she's in a different phase of her life. Like, she's not trying to go get a bunch of new clients. She knows she's going to, wind down, and it's like, she doesn't need any money. She's just doing this because she likes working, and Merry Christmas to her. Like, that's different. But if you're in your 30s or 40s and you've got some bandwidth, and I will say this, if you listen to the podcast we did with Carrie Wallace, agencies that have marketing strategies sell at a higher multiple because there's an engine for leads, there's brand awareness that sells higher. So if you're looking at your whole agency is messy, why would we grow? We have to fix the mess. You'll never fix the mess. Okay.
Right. That's right.
You can put systems and strategies in, but if your expectation is something's not going to go wrong every day, you're not thinking about running a business. The reason a CEO exists is to solve problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing that agencies can do is be really honest with themselves on when they're making excuses, and own it and embrace it, to know the trigger that you're making an excuse versus taking action to implement a new activity that you don't know how to do. Phone a friend on, if you have, maybe somebody in another state, they're not a threat or competitor. So, insurance agencies, they collaborate all the time.
They do, yeah.
There's so many people that are friends with each other, and that's why there's so many conventions and events that are around insurance, because you can network and you can learn from each other, and so I think the thing is, the hardest thing is realizing when you're making excuses versus, making the step forward.
Yeah. I have seen insurance agencies spend days talking about a $200 marketing investment. And I'm like, you should, Stop. The amount of conversation you've had has just made the ROI in this completely illegitimate. So
right.
Let's just burn this to the ground, move away, or just do it. But don't overthink everything, and don't look at it
for $200. That's just, come on, just stop it. And also the fun part is, that's super exciting, is, okay, again, you're getting uncomfortable, spending a little bit of money. So now you're at the starting line. And you have a goal of, all right, how am I going to pay this back? And then some. How am I going to make a profit on this investment? And that could, depending on how ambitious you are, because that's another thing that you just mentioned. If someone's in a different stage of their life, then that's fine. If you're looking to retire and not grow, that's fine. But that's the whole thing. You have to look at it. You got gamify it if you have to, so that you can feel like, all right, I have something I'm going to hyper focus on. I spent $200. All right, where's that client coming from?
Or what did I learn? I paid some tuition, hey, I learned that we're getting some chatter. Let's do it again and see if we can, go for it. But I do think that a lot of agencies, struggle with the marketing for a couple of reasons. One, marketing might not be their thing. And I respect that, but when you own a business, accounting might not be your thing, but you need to know baseline accounting. The back end, the IT might not be your thing, but you need to have somebody, you need to understand the basics of if something's working or not. So you have to educate yourself. And then I see a lot of agencies go get a marketing person, and this person's, potentially younger, entry level. And I struggle with this a little bit, and I've seen some really good ones come out, but I'm also like, they need a mentor. They're green and they need a mentor, and you're having these high expectations. So you don't understand marketing. They don't understand because this is their first job. And the staff is like, what do they do all day? Play on Facebook? It's like, okay, well, we're setting people up a little bit for failure. Some people take it, the right person, but a lot of people need a mentor, that's a huge part, right?
Yeah. I think there's also personality types that, that's why the people that are listening to this are the people that are amazing and awesome and always trying to up level and next level and learn and evolve and grow and that, thank you for listening. But there are going to be people that their mindset is it's too far gone. And I'm not trying to disparage anything. There's a population of people out there that know what they know, and that's what they like.
And I think in every industry, right? There's dry cleaners that don't market, and there's, there's restaurants that some of the best restaurants you might not ever know about because like they're just not in the game of Yelp and everything else, so where people go and
right.
To each their own, right?
And here's another example that I saw with small business owners in this EIDL endeavor we had. At some point, because the SBA is just, I have very negative opinions about it. But we started telling people you should just call your U.S. senator because the SBA is just not responding. And one business owner, many, well, how do I call my senator? Do you know who my senator is? I'm like, I don't live in Wisconsin, but I could Google it, but I'm not doing that for you.
Right.
This is not a concierge service. I mean, that was the other thing. Our fee was capped by the SBA because it's a government loan, et cetera. And so we were very clear and transparent up front. We're not a concierge service. Yeah. And it's like, Google is an amazing technology.
Like, you can learn any of the things.
I mean, you can go to Google and learn how to Google something.
Serious.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
And that I saw that a lot. People were helpless, and don't even get me started. So you got the know-it-alls, you got the helplessness. I'm all about resourcefulness is sexier than helplessness. And it's so, marketing is a vast land. You can go out there and try it, and you're really not going to screw up.
Right.
Because first of all, if you're just starting out, not that many people are going to see your shit anyway.
Truth.
And so that, like, yay, embrace it, because then you'll learn from it, and then you can delete stuff too. Like, the possibilities are endless, but you can't learn if you're not doing it.
I'll leave our listeners with this, before going back to where we started this conversation, when you bought a Yellow Page ad, you had to keep putting money into it every month.
Right. Every month. Yes.
If I put a piece of content, a video out, and some of our most highest ranking pages are like old blogs, legit, that are like 7 years old. Like one of them is 52 cross-selling tips. Role playing isn't just when your insurance consultant's in there. Like, it's like crazy, and they get traffic every single month for, wherever they're ranking. And people think like every piece of content you put out there, it's planting a seed, that's going to keep feeding you. It's just the first couple of years are, just like if you're planting apple trees, you're not going to get apples for 3 to 5 years. Right.
But yeah, they have to harvest, and, so
you have to be okay with that and not give up and not look for, if you need direct lead generation, go buy leads and do this in the background.
Right. Well, one thing, and then we can wrap it up, but I do want to say that often the question is, there's an overwhelm as well. Mm-hmm. We haven't touched on that. The overwhelm of like, which platform.
I get that way sometimes.
Right. And the thing is, like, you can try all of them, you will get overwhelmed and you might quit. You could survey your customers to know where are they, and then when we started the EIDL and the business financing before COVID, we kind of like we were on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Because, it was like, oh, everybody's on Facebook, and it was Facebook. And then Instagram, Facebook bought Instagram. So I was like, okay, so that's going to double my exposure, and then actually all of our leads came from YouTube.
Yeah.
So we went all in on YouTube. So that's the other thing. You won't learn what is what will get you the most traction and where you'll have the most fun, because there are people actually waiting to hear from you until you at least try something to know if it's working or not.
I like that. I like that because I think, it's understanding marketing is very big experimentation, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you don't know what's going to hit because Google's algorithms they're not as super transparent of saying this is what's going to work 2 years from now. Like you don't have the crystal ball.
Well, that's the other thing with, and it's sort of like the weatherman, the weather, what do they call them? What's the starts with an M, meteorologist. Thank you. Meteorologists don't have to buy E&O, right? Because they can predict the weather and it could be wrong and no one's suing them per se, right? So
you didn't tell me to bring an umbrella today.
Right. So, but that's the beauty about Web 2 and social media and all the platforms and how you embrace moving forward with a plan, because you can do stuff and you're not going to necessarily screw it up. And I know I just said that, but that's if that isn't exciting enough to just try that, I don't know what is. So it's great.
So biggest message you want to leave out in the world as we conclude this podcast with marketing?
I think one takeaway is, and it depends on the stage of the marketing. There's different stages. If you're just starting, or if you've been doing it, but you're not sure because nothing's sticking. And then there's I think the biggest takeaway is, if you haven't surveyed your clients to know how they're looking for information or seeing you, or if they're seeing you, or surveying clients for sure on that. Number two, I would say spending 1 to 2 hours, and this is so minimal, 1 to 2 hours a week with trying something new with marketing, I think is an absolute. It has to happen if you're looking to grow, period. And that's just minimal. And I think that could start when I moved to this house in Connecticut, the yard was a mess. I never did gardening because I lived in a condo, never did. And I would go out every day and it was like 10 minutes, then it was 15 minutes. And it was 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and then it was, or maybe it wasn't every day. It was every other day or every twice a week. And it builds because I got excited about seeing the results. You can't see the results without doing the activity. So
And I think you just hit a light bulb for me, because I've always been why am I so obsessed with HubSpot? We're HubSpotters. It's I think it's because I can go in there and they have the university and I can get really good quality content, and I have this tool that doesn't make me feel alone. We were talking about the campaign tool, we're going to do some paid search ads, and I'm there's this campaign tool. It makes it feel like it's just not here you go. It's I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a comfort marketing living room where it's don't worry, other people just like you are here too.
Well, it's accountability. It's accountability as well. And actually that's another takeaway, is setting yourself up with accountability. I mean, I'm sure there's Facebook groups for insurance marketing, for insurance professionals. Get more involved with, set up a 30-day challenge or a 21-day challenge or something where you're doing something different every week for your business. And this is, again, I don't want to pick on insurance agents. A lot of small business owners are complacent with marketing. Absolutely. But insurance is near and dear to my heart. And I've seen it. And by way of seeing it, meaning I've not seen it, where they're doing the things that a business owner should be doing. And should is a strong word, but
well, if you want to grow, you have to market. That's the deal.
Right.
So if you don't want to grow, that's cool. Own that, and skip this podcast, and that's cool too. Be who you're going to be. But I hate the frustration I have is the agencies in the middle, where it's I want to grow, but oh, there's their excuse.
The but, yeah. I mean, should I do want to retract should, could and would. Mm-hmm. You could be doing and would be doing if, you weren't making excuses. So, yeah.
So how do people find you if they're interested in hearing a little more Linda Rey in their lives? If they're inspired and they're I'm ready. I want some marketing consultation.
Oh boy. Marketing consultation, not really doing that anymore for, the general public, but
it's by invite. She's gotten super bougie.
yeah. Yeah, I am very selective about who
I just kind of put
with.
you on the spot with that. I apologize.
No, it's fine. But we do have a podcast YouTube channel that we are going to be resuming, but we have Simple Sense for Small Business. So it's youtube.com/Aurora Consulting. And we'll be reactivating that because we were finishing up with the EIDL, but we do talk about small business owner mistakes.
Love it.
And yeah. So it's not specific to insurance and it's not specific to marketing, but we touch on financing, on operations, on marketing.
General business knowledge.
Yeah. So marketing and sales has a playlist. So that's there too.
Well, the good news is that then I get to keep working and you don't get other clients. So that's cool.
That's right. And I like it.
Well, Linda, it has been a pleasure today to see, hey, it's Linda Rey again.
Thank you.
I saw Trevor make cameos in the background, so that's awesome too.
Yeah, he's doing stuff here. I don't know what.
That's how I feel about it, except I'm in Utah, Andrew's home. So I get texts from him about paint samples and things like that. So it's all good.
Well, thank you for having me. And and I love how I've seen you grown for 9 years, and it's been an absolute. I'm in awe. I just love everything APP.
Thank you. All right, guys, we're signing off. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. It's a special PSA, a public service announcement here for our loyal followers and listeners of our 3-minute videos. So we started doing a daily 3-minute video when COVID hit. It was our way of connecting and people were at home and we wanted to bring positivity to the world. But now, as we have hit the 2-year mark of doing a daily video, we've decided it's time to change things up a little bit. We have some other forms of content that we think you're going to love. So the 3-minute videos will not be putting in a graveyard. They are instead going to be changed up a little bit. So what you're going to see is a little bit of a throwback video. We're going to highlight our top 10 greatest hits in the last 2 weeks. Then we're going to go all into talking about commercial sales as Heath Sharon is emerging with his new course on how to prospect and sell commercial. So great for anybody out there. You're going to start to see our content change up in the month of July and get into a new rhythm in August. We can't thank you enough for your loyalty to our 3-minute videos. We know that they've given people a lot of tips and tricks, and we've gotten a ton of followers out of them. But just like everything in life, all good things must come to an end, and we think we've got something extra special cooking up our sleeves, so we can't wait to share that with you. In the meantime, please go like our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Like them. That's where you're going to get special announcements. Also, make sure you're watching your email for even more special announcements on everything. We appreciate everything that you guys have done, and we can't wait to share with you different forms of content. So we're not going away. You're still going to get all the APP awesomeness in your inboxes and on your social media channels. We're just going to change things up just a smidge to make it even more ridiculously amazing for you. Thank you so much, and we absolutely look forward to what's next. Take care.